Touring, being a musician along with the other musicians, how have you found that learning experience different than making the mixtapes and maybe rocking the club? Is that a different kind of
Oh yeah, definitely.
beast?
Well, we used to always say like the term turntablist is kind of this idea that we use the turntable as an instrument. Um, Working with quote unquote like real musicians, like I've learned that statement is like definitely an overstatement. Musicians, part of being a musician is like you speak the language, and most turntablists just don't speak the language, like of knowing like what key you're in and the time signature and like things of that nature. Most don't. Some do. There's actually a DJ named Tico who recently was doing stuff with Mark Ronson. Actually, Jay's team of musicians are insanely accomplished. Omar Edwards, Brett Baker, who produced Eric Robertson's album, who they just got nominated for a Grammy. He's his percussionist. His drummer is this kid, Tony Royster Jr., who was like a child prodigy. If you look him up, like he was playing since he was 12, and like technically speaking, like he probably, top 5, top 3 in the world, like technically of what he does. The bass player Tony Russell played for R. Kelly. Pick someone like the guitar player Sean Carrington has played for Beyonce. For pick someone, the same thing. Pick someone. They're all insanely accomplished and like.
Well, you're no slouch. I mean, it ain't like you haven't DJ'd or slayed a couple people in the process, but but you think turntablism is a different.
It can't. No. Like there are turntablists who are really musical, but a lot of cats are not. Like turntablism has its own language. So like if I cut with another DJ, we used to always kind of equated to jazz. Like if you cut with another DJ, then both of them are really good scratchers. It's like watching a conversation happen between two people, except musically. But definitely, it was like an eye-opening experience because they operate on an entirely different level. Like here's something, a trip that most people might not know. Like most of them musicians, like they can't read music. Like they just play. But they know they can play. It's weird, like depending on how you learn. Like there's some people who went to school and they can all read. They tend to, and like almost universally, it's like horn players can read music, but most of the other guys can't read a blip. Like they just know. They'll hear a song and they can play it. They memorize everything. Like they don't sit there with sheet music. They remember every single thing they're supposed to play.
Yeah.
Which, that's like. Think about people trip about how Jay doesn't write down his rhymes. Like he just remembers them. These guys remember notes upon notes of everything they're supposed to play, and that's like that's all true talent. Like it's all that stuff was amazing to me. Like on the technical prowess of being like a turntablist, I definitely was on the lower end. Like I'm a person who was able to take what I have and maximize it to the fullest, like using the combination of the marketing of, having a good product. Like when I started doing the mixtapes, the underlying point was to take like that turntablist stuff and make it more palpable to a normal audience who didn't want to see like someone scratch on stage for like 2 hours and, and be bored to death. I tried to make it more musical and so the average person could listen to what I do and be like, wow, that sounds really sick. And that was my initial thing. Like those are like the type of things you have to do for branding, like to make yourself different from everyone else.
So for all the aspiring DJs out there, or the mini Neil Armstrong coming up, what words of advice would you give to them on the journey?
And you gotta do whatever you want to do for the love. Like you do that, you can't fail. Like even if, it sounds hokey, it sounds whatever, but it's true. I made mixtapes that coming from like a really hip hop background. I was playing New Edition, and you didn't do that. If you're listening to Wu-Tang, you don't play New Edition. Like nowadays it's a little different, but you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't play Bon Jovi if you were playing Wu-Tang. Like you know, again, nowadays is a little different. Like I was definitely one of the people early on who were doing that type of stuff, and it was just because I love music. Like you can't follow the crowd. You gotta figure out what you want to do. You play what you want to play because you want to do it. The rest of the world might not see it, and they may never see it like as something like, oh, I want to buy this, or I want to pay someone for hearing this or for doing it. But if you do it for yourself, like you can't fail. Like you did it for yourself, and you should be happy with that. Nowhere along the line did I ever dream of DJing with Jay-Z, like being able to perform in front of stadiums. We performed at Glastonbury, was 120,000 people. Like, I think Staples Center only holds, what, 16, 17,000. So, you know, a lot more than that. And, you know, I made mixtapes that my boys were like, what are you doing? Like, there's not, no one's gonna like this. Is, you know, it's fruity. Like, you can't play love songs. What are you doing? Like, no one will like this. But I wanted to do it, and I hope people like it, and people did. And that brought me through this crazy journey that I've been on. And to this day, like, I work. A lot of the cats that know me, like, no, I don't sleep. Like, I'm always pretty stressed, but, you know, I do it because I love it at the end of the day. Back in the day, when I was talking about being a turntablist, all I ever wanted to do was win, like, the belt, you know, be the best.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted. But I didn't. I never really wanted DJ battle. My crew did, and because of my association with them, I did. It's like the Wu-Tang Clan. I always say this. It's like, you know, I'm kind of like the U-God of the Wu-Tang. The rest of my crew, you'd never believe it. But if you look back at history, like, the rest of my crew was like Jizza, RZA, Ghostface, and I was U-God. Like, the only reason why you know U-God is because he's down with Wu-Tang, and I was kind of like that. It was a little more than that. I was the person who handled a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. That was my skill, and that kind of shined through when it was time for me to market myself. You know, I knew who to talk to and the right things. But yeah, I will always say that, and it's kind of true. And it's all because I did it because I loved what I was doing.